Since 2000, all technology is being aimed at the needs of consumers first. Well, the implications of this in the enterprise world are staggering. In the Valley, the big trend now is to BYOD, right? Bring your own device. Because in the consumer world, it turns out that an iPad is radically more secure than a notebook computer in all but a really tiny corner case. And it's a lot cheaper to support it. So you're just going to see corporations stop buying as many Windows devices. They're not going to pull it all out. But any new employer, any job classification that doesn't absolutely require spreadsheets or graphic design, is going to wind up on notebooks or going to wind up on tablets and smartphones. So think sales. This is a really big deal because if you're Microsoft and you've defined your web world as HTML4 and your business world is Windows, and half of the connected units have moved off your platform, I would characterize that as being royally fucked. What I'm saying here is that if you're Microsoft, you literally have lost half your addressable market in 4 years. They had 96% share of operating systems in the connected world 5 years ago. 96% share. They've lost 100% of the 50+% of the total market that is these things. They've lost it all. And keep in mind, the dollars have migrated with the units. And it's not just Microsoft who's screwed, it's also Google. Because it turns out that index search, which was a tool for dominating the HTML4 World Wide Web, is at best a minor application in mobile. And you go, wait a minute, Roger, how can that be true? These are the two monopolists who dominate my world. And I said, those are the two monopolists who used to dominate your world. They are now the two most vulnerable companies in all of technology. They're totally screwed. They have these entire overheads based on high market share, and they no longer have it. Think about that for a minute. When you think about Google, the thing to understand is that index search gave you organization in HTML4, in the World Wide Web. But when you look in the mobile world, the use cases are fundamentally different. And the constraints of data over 3G are so significant that using index search is just not that attractive an option. So for most job classifications, this is what happens. For every 100 searches you do on your desktop, you're going to do 10 on your iPad and 1 on your iPhone. Why? Well, why is very simple. There's two parts of it. On the iPhone, remember, the average web page is now a megabyte. So you have two problems with going to a web page. It takes forever to load a megabyte, and they charge you real money for it. Okay? And that's just for one page. So people use apps to search in the mobile world. And Google's lost an enormous amount of share to Facebook and Twitter and Yelp and Realtor.com and all these other guys who do vertical searches. Now, the reason the iPad's in between is because, one, it's on a lot of Wi-Fi, so you've got more bandwidth, but you've also got a bigger display, right? I mean, who wants to look at a page with Flash on a little device? It just, it's not interesting. So think about this for a minute. Again, in red is the HTML4 web. The guys in that column were the big winners, right? These are huge, enormously successful companies. Yet not one of them has a penny of operating profit for mobile. Not one. That entire category is O for mobile. I'm not saying they don't have revenue. I'm saying everyone spends more than they take in. So again, I call this a hypothesis, but this has actually already happened. Right? The real question is, what do we do about it? I mean, isn't it interesting to you that not even Facebook has managed to make a graceful transition to mobile? Mobile's a different animal. And when you're doing startups, if the design is any bigger than this, you might be aiming at the wrong cycle. What's fascinating to me about this is that Apple's group of ecosystem partners are sharks and people who couldn't care less about them, right? At Verizon and AT&T, you know what the interview question is they ask you if you're looking for a job there? When you were a kid, did you pull the wings off of flies? And if you did, then they sign you right up and send you off to basic training and turn you out into a cellular guy. The publishers aren't big enough to matter, right? Amazon and Barnes & Noble aren't even on Apple's platform, right? That's not much of an ecosystem. But Apple's position is so strong it doesn't matter. What's fascinating is it's too late to compete with Apple there. The only way to do this, the only way to get into this game, is to revive the World Wide Web. You need a third column. If we don't get a third column, folks, it's going to be really boring around here. Let's understand why. Okay? How did Apple beat these guys? And trust me, they beat them decisively. It's simple. Apple made a bet against the web. They basically said, I can prosper by selling a product for a big premium that protects you from having to deal with the web in the mobile environment. So for every key characteristic of the open source World Wide Web mantra, Apple did exactly the opposite. Instead of an open source operating system, they went with a proprietary operating system. Instead of long tail, they focused on brands. Instead of free, they also offered paid. They allowed you to differentiate the products so that you could get paid. They made the environment secure so you could get paid. And then here was the killer, and this is the genius. They decided to charge you $400 to $1,000 for hardware to get a different user experience on data that 100% of the target audience gets for free in the wired web. This is exactly what happened when we went from mimeograph machines to Xerox machines, and we went from stupid little music players to iPods. People are paying a huge premium to get away from something, okay? I cannot understate the importance of this. Apple has won in a way I've never seen in 30 years. And it's not only not going away, they haven't even hit peak power yet.